Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm. My name is Renee, and if this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping. Today is going to be my video for the March shelf stable collaboration using items from your pantry. And this is put on by Mary Ellen at Prepper Potpourri. And it's a really great collaboration. She did it all last year and again this year, and I'm really excited to be included this year. What we do is we make recipes from things that are in your pantry. It can be canned good, it can be store-bought, but not refrigerated and not frozen. So we can use eggs because people do have eggs. So it's what to do in case something happens and you can't get out to the store or electricity goes down, how you can still feed your family. And it's everything. All kinds of recipes, from breakfast to baked goods to dinners to side dishes. It's all sorts of things. Now, Mary Ellen has developed a cover for a binder. You can print off all the recipes and put in this binder, and then you will have a great cookbook full of all kinds of recipes. And not just recipes you'll use if you don't have access to electricity. These are great for at home anytime, great for camping, very convenient recipes, and to me they're also frugal. So today I'm going to do a breakfast item. I had a few things I was debating on, and this morning I decided I wanted to do something for breakfast, and I keep thinking I want to make this. I'm going to make homemade Pop-Tarts. I loved Pop-Tarts as a kid. I am that generation, and my mom was not a breakfast person, so that was easy for her to give me in the mornings. But I really liked Pop-Tarts when I was growing up, and I would like to make homemade ones. And I'm gonna make homemade using Crisco pie crust, because Crisco is shelf stable. And I'm gonna use the old Crisco pie crust recipe. Very simple and easy. I have my Crisco in the fridge, chilling, because you want really cold, firm Crisco. And then for the filling, I'm gonna use raspberry jam. I went down and debated what flavor do I want? Do I want strawberry? Do I want blueberry? Do I want peach? I decided on raspberry, and you can use store-bought. Doesn't have to be homemade, raspberry jam. I just have an abundance of it right now, and we don't eat jam all the time on toast or PB&Js, so it's nice to have other recipes I can use it for. The first step is 2 cups of all-purpose flour into a bowl. Hopefully this is big enough. Two cups. Set that aside. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to mix this together. Then we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of well-chilled Crisco and 4 to 8 tablespoons of ice cold water. So I'm going to get a cup, and I'm going to put some water and an ice cube in it to keep the water cold. So obviously if I didn't have my freezer running, I would have to just run my water until it was real cold, as cold as possible, and use that. I'm going to use butter flavored Crisco. It has been in the fridge, and I have a cup here that I have water and I added ice cubes to. Next, we are going to scoop out 3/4 of a cup of the shortening. I don't use shortening a lot, Crisco a lot, but I do always keep it on hand. And when I was growing up, we always saw commercials with Loretta Lynn. Let's get this so you can see it. So we're going to add that. Scoop it out. Some went on the floor. Oh gosh. Hopefully that's not a sign of how the day is going to go. It was just a little bit, so it's no big deal. But I am going to pick it up and throw it in the sink. I'll take care of that later. Missy, go away. So now we're going to blend it in. You can use a fork, you can use a pastry cutter. I'm using my dough hook, my Danish whisk, and we'll see how this works. You want it to kind of make little crumbles. I'm not an expert at making pie crust. I can usually do it, but it's not something that is like second nature for me. Some people are just, oh, they have such a good touch. I used to like those Loretta Lynn commercials. Sometimes she would have her kids in them, and she always made pretty things at the end. So now we're going to add water, and I have water in this cup with some ice cubes. You just want cold water. And we're going to add just enough until it holds together. So it says 4 to 8. So I'm going to start with 4. We'll see how this goes. You want it to be able to form into a dough ball. And it's forming bigger chunks now. Okay, so let's see. And it is holding together now. So I am going to make it into one ball. We'll see if it holds, if it's not too dry. And this is looking pretty good to me. Now, I am going to cut it in half and wrap each half. I'm going to make them into a ball and wrap these up and set that bowl in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Let's make the filling while the dough is resting. So we're going to open up the jar of jam, and we need about a half a cup, so about half of this jar. We'll save the rest because we'll put some in the frosting. Now we need a tablespoon of cornstarch that we're going to add to this to make it, I just slopped. Mix that together, and that will help the filling to not be so runny and escape the pie crust. We'll set this aside now and use it when we roll out the pie crust. I might need to make more, I'm not sure. If you were making a large batch of these, you would definitely need more. So here is the dough. It looks nice. I'm gonna coat it a little. I'm gonna put some flour on my rolling pin. This is the part that challenges me. And we kind of want this to roll out into a square as much as possible because we're going to cut out rectangles. Starting to stick a little. Roll your dough into a rectangle or a square. I did a rectangle. And then use a pizza cutter to trim the edges to make it so it's an even edge, so it's not like wonky. Like this end facing you is pretty wonky, so we'll trim that off. And then I'm going to make them into about 3-inch wide strips. So kind of measuring it out there in my head, how many I can get out of it. And I'm going to end up with 3 out of each dough ball. And next time I might try to get them even thinner, so then I might get 4. But like you can see there, it was thin, and I just patched in that spot. But when these baked up, they were pretty sturdy and thick. But it's not necessarily a bad thing because they are to be held by hand. So now I'm just rolling them a little flatter, a little thinner. And I separated them so they were easier to work with each one. So I'm just getting them even. And now I am going to start with the jam. Now we're going to beat 1 egg up. Just crack it into a little bowl. And then just take a fork and whisk it up and get it all blended. And this is going to be our glue. Gonna put some egg wash along the edge. It's a little too close to the edge on the other side. This is the last of the first 3, and I'm just getting it sealed. Did my egg wash. Now just going around with the fork and pressing it together. And this is to keep it closed when it's baking and to prevent any of the filling from coming out. This is a chance to make sure that they all look pretty sealed. I'll do some of the egg wash on top. And poke a few vent holes in. Give the steam a way of escaping. Here they are out of the oven. That's some of the pie crust I just added on there, the scraps. So we'll let these cool and we'll make an icing and some sprinkles to go on top. The Pop-Tarts have cooled off enough, and there's 1 piece of crust left that Jim didn't eat. He said that the crust has the seal of approval. And they sealed pretty good. Like that's one that didn't seal as good, but it didn't run out at all. I don't know if you can tell how flaky that crust is. I was pretty amazed. So I guess Loretta Lynn was right. So I have 1 cup of powdered sugar. And you could leave these as they are now. You don't have to put anything else on them. We could have sprinkled some sugar or sprinkles before we bake them, but I'm gonna make the icing. The original recipe for icing calls for 1 tablespoon of the jam. I have a 1/2 tablespoon measure. And 1 tablespoon and more if needed of actually heavy cream. I could open up some evaporated milk or almond milk, but I'm just going to use water. That's what I use when I make my icing for cookies at Christmas time. So we're going to go with that. For 1 or 2 tablespoons, I don't want to open up one of my cans. And just keep stirring carefully so you don't splash it all over. I'm using a little whisk to try and get out any lumps. I could have sifted the sugar just to make sure, but I didn't. And it's doing okay. And that looks about the right consistency to me. So I'm gonna set the water aside. And I have some sprinkles here. I have some glittery and red sprinkles. I'm gonna be babysitting my granddaughter, I think, tomorrow. And I think it would be fun to take her one of these. So now we're just gonna spread this on top. A rack over a cookie sheet to catch any drips. Let's try some red sprinkles. This is actually sanding sugar, so it's really fine. I like it with both, so. So I'm just gonna let these rest and set up, and then we will do a taste test. They are ready to eat, or at least I think they're ready to eat because I want to take a bite. I think they look good. So I'm gonna try one and I'll show you what the inside looks like. Side, you can see the jam. Next time I'll probably pile more up in the middle. Let me see if I can see, you can see the jam. But the crust turned out really flaky. I am just amazed. Well, so thank you for watching this. I really appreciate everyone stopping in and watching my video. And if you would like to see more videos on canning and baking, and I do vintage recipes, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. And see you next time at Pike Creek Farm.